One of the listeners has a question about, and this I get a lot of times. The classic question is, um, how many tickets can I put in there before I lose too much money? And at this point, and this is always kind of where I guess I don't agree with people's bailing out of a perfectly good trade. And I sound like that Michael Norman or normal Michael that does the fundamental view and takes 1,000 pip, 2,000 pip against you trade and finally become a 4,000 pip win, right? If you have enough, um, if your pockets are deep enough, right, you can sustain these moves. That's why the banks don't really care. They're just trying to do business, right? They're not trying to, I mean, they're just trying to have real liquidity, right? For people that are transferring a bunch of money around. And so they have a liquidity pool and, they're in this transaction. But if you do believe that there are auctions and some stuff, nobody wants it at a certain price, so the price goes sideways and people are hemming and hawing. And we're either going to go rushing up or down. And we may have a first burst, and then we see, but the song remains the same. It's time frame dependent, that is true, but if you're on the 2-minute chart in the euro dollar on a big broker that has a lot of data, that's smooth data, and you have a zero spread, you're paying a commission that's like a flat half pip. So every trade you do, it's like driving a car where the mileage doesn't keep fluctuating. That's also a part of the mindset. The whole thing is about money, but you really have to find the comfort level of risk. So I picked $10 a ticket here. These orders last 24 hours. I dropped a pant load of these things down here, okay? So the account's about where it started, 1,600. But I'm up 900 coming into what I believe to be, dare I say, the engulf. We've already had the cash out. Now, I did not cash out here where it was painfully fucking obvious where you needed to get the fuck out. And I pointed this out earlier. The first plunge last night, the first plunge this week, which we didn't trade. I only traded the plunge that we just got when we took out this thing, and I said, holy shit. So I bought this area, and on the 1 hour chart, it looks like this. You had to cash out here on something. And I said, you absolutely are going to have to cash out here on something, even though it overshot that runway. And that's because it left such a gaping vacuum behind with, dare I say, not one higher high for 9 fucking hours. Until here, and this is the head, and that is the shoulder, and that's just how it is. Ain't nothing gonna change that. You either bought every hour this was down. So the real bull bought this thing at the end of the hour. Boom. If you have 24 hours a day, do you really think that you're gonna be able to lose $240, $10 per stop on each trigger pull? Now you can have a trigger pull that's got a tight stop of 13 pips. And now you're risking $10 on an 8K. And you just do the math. You find a comfort level. You're not going to drive your car so fast to the grocery store that you need to put new tires on. Are you in a race car? If you're a race car driver, if you want to go out and test your car, just the fuel and the tires for just dicking around is costing you. So if you really are going to be trading, trying to make money, it's going to cost you money on some level. And are you so good? Do you have everything set up? Like I said, my tequila buddy and I already had the rig planned out. This is 10 years ago. We determined that your left foot would be a foot switch that holds down the sell key, and your right is the buy key. And you're going to execute limit orders, say with, your pinky and, index fingers, market orders, and stop orders, or the middle finger. And you just memorize the situation, and then you say, okay, it's Sunday night, the markets open up. You just got to imagine my buddy drinks tequila. And when he saw that the tiles were flashing different colors, he stared into that, hammered as you can be. And he said, well, what's going on? All these prices, I mean, they really did pull people into the fact that these numbers are flashing. I kind of like to watch it growing like sea urchins or whatever the things you put in your tank. Watching the market just grow this weird path that just disturbs the shit out of people, You can only imagine people trying to put a moving average on this, trying to, any kind of angle, really. But if you did pure horizontal view with only time marching by, then you can just either trade ranges all day long and not care about the trend, or you can say, yeah, it's in a downtrend and I'm going to sell it because of this and because of that. But I think in the end, you'll have to admit that if you look up auction theory or anything having to do with something being unfair value over recent time, you'd have to make the argument for this is me trapped up here. And this double top becomes a bottom on the wicks on the 1 hour chart, and it's trapped in this box, right? And it's unfair, overbought, and it actually cuts back and does a full engulf. So in this one day from the I'm not even going to talk about the fact we opened here. I'm talking about the fact there's a cluster here, right? There's indecision, and then there is decision. It's very hard and brutal because it's filling this gaping hole to here. And every time it knocks off one of these basement floors, it's picking up speed, right? It even takes out that little lonely wick. But this lonely wick here becomes the pivot, right? Almost to the pip. We still have this floor here that means quite a bit. As you tumble into this well-known price, right? And here is another snap of one of your, now if you're selling into that. So this guy asked me, how do you know, in the comments, he says, where I'm putting in these buy limits, is that how do you know? Let's say the trend keeps going down, and you are getting stopped out. Okay, now this means that, well, the question is that a bad thing or a good thing that you get stopped out? If you wanted to really swing trade it and give the market quite a bit of room, in other words, if you can scale into a 120 pip zone with a 200 pip stop, a hard stop, okay? If you think of it this way, you're going to get into a position with when it reaches a certain area, boom, you're out. So your risk is going to be scaled in, but a hard risk to every ticket you've picked up. Now, if you wait an hour and the market drops another 70 pips, do you have enough money to do the same scheme and lay more track in front of the market? As you're catching a falling knife, you have to somehow gauge it. Like, you have to be a circus performer in a way. I mean, you have to judge, is the lion drugged up enough? Now, when the lion comes out of his stupor, this is when the market's ripping. The idea is to get in the market before it rips on some kind of strategy or tactic, because the strategy is always going to be to make money. And when people say, I have a strategy, what's your strategy? I would say to make money in the shortest period of time. So the auction theory fulfills that need because auctions reach a climax moment where there is no fucking buddy that's willing to go one more pip the other way and the thing reverses. So identify that area. All you need to do is look left 10 bars on the 1 hour chart. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find a void or a top or a doji or a previous bottom, whatever it is. Next thing to consider is, are you going to pull the trigger every hour? Or are you going to place limit grids based on the contour of the 1 hour chart, highs and lows? So here would be an obvious situation. I can already see the trade would have been, or the scheme is to run trailing buy limits that go back maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 bars. Or until you get one, right? So you got a buy limit here, never filled. This one filled. You're a fucking genius, right? Where did you have to get out? When you place this order, where should your exit be? Well, if you're not around, it's going to be here, right? I mean, it's going to be the last known. In other words, if they come after this area, and maybe they're going to stop hunt this guy and then they're going to rip it up, you got to get out on something here because that is the last known bottom as far as you know. If you weren't around for this trade, because this is the 1 hour chart, don't forget, if you're going to run trailing goober, if you're going to gobble up goober stops for people that are trying to say, well, I'm going to move my stop up to here. Okay, I'll take your stop. Thank you very much. Of course, you didn't have to really be there for it, right? And you could have had a buy limit here, too. In other words, you got a trailing buy limits here. So you could have taken on this much risk. And as soon as you change the scale, you can see you can put a high density of orders in here. I mean, this is like a tenth of a pip away. You can put 10Ks in 1 pip zones without repeating an entry. Now, would I buy this at the market? If I didn't think I was in big enough, yeah, I'd probably buy a little bit here, but I'm always going to run the buy limits behind it because even though this is a spectacular move here, I think we can all admit this is a mind blower here. We make our first divergence. We've trapped at the ultimate low into London Open, whatever have you. Now, you could have been the guy, and it's totally possible. You can be a breakout artist too. And you're to really trade full time, unless you're going to wait for setups like these people that wait for 3 months and they do shows on YouTube. If you want to trade or build a robot, it shouldn't be that hard to build a robot that only takes how many pips this is. And it gets filled short and it runs a trailing stop. And here it would have made X, right? And it only comes in when it sees baby bars, right? Baby bar bot. Here's 2 bots in because this is an inside bar to this, right? So an inside bar bot, for lack of a better term, or a hammer bot, a small body bot, because this market here, we know this is a doji because the open and close is so close, it's flat. And so I'm just going to hold this trade. I'm not going to, obviously we're going up through the roof now. I bought into this plunge. It's Wednesday. It's wicked Wednesday auction theory in my mind. And we got to get that money to the people. We got to get that money to the people is what we got to do. So I kind of have I have scalp exits actually. Another thing is that, so is it a bad thing to get stopped out? Well, it depends. If you consider the price of buying back the commissions and the spread, maybe you just want to move your stop down. If you're trying to swing trade it, and it's easy to gobble up tickets, it looks very dramatic on the 1 hour chart. It looks very counterintuitive to try to go against the market. But let me ask you this: so he says it's going down. How do you know when it's time to reverse position and go for the sell? Okay, I would never do that, ever. I would never give up my idea where the market's going. So, because of my stubbornness, I do use the buy stop entry on some of my tickets just so I don't add to in other words, my sell stops here, I have to tighten up. And if I do sell, it's going to be because the volatility is drying up. I'm not going to sell here. I'm not going to sell here. I'm just not. So when I started the video, we were coming into this and I said, oh, I'm buying that. The thing is, the 4-hour chart, and you can't see inside of here, but we could have got out and it came back and it's been dicking around. But on the 4-hour chart, and don't forget the 4-hour chart, you're not going to overtrade it. So if you think this is the stop hunt, you need to have trailing buy limits on the 4-hour chart. This is a big deal because the 4-hour chart, you got plenty of time to put the tickets in. But you're going to be going against most people's view of it on the 21 moving average guy is going to think you're out of your fucking mind for trading like that. But we can all see the trend here, right? When the market's going down on close, as soon as this goes down, it's in a downtrend. So I'm counter trend entering everything I do. So if I'm not getting filled on limits here into this hole that I bought at the market, then I bought the market, and then maybe I cashed out of something, and here's maybe 2 sell bots come in, or this is a 12-hour floor, so if I consider this as the floor of the week, we haven't cut that area yet. Yes, they've trapped the buy guys here, but why does it climax here? Because it's the previous floor. On the 4-hour chart, we don't need to look at the fucking 1-minute chart, or the 9-minute chart, or the 45-minute chart, or any other chart, because we can trade this chart. It's just that people aren't trading it the right way. They're trading it like they would say to you, I'm getting killed trading breakouts in the direction of the trend, because they would say at this point, it's going down, so I got a small bar, so I put a sell stop in, and I think I'm about to get stopped out. Well, no shit, because that's not the trend. The trend is based on close. This is the first pullback on the 4-hour chart where you can attach your trend line. In RSI Cardwell, he's taking this price pulse and connecting to the highest close within and projecting it here. In essence, he's creating one price pulse moves that he can trade. That's why Cardwell, I was just listening to him again, and so we can see this is the previous support. And we will probably dilly-dally up here, and there'll be people scalping off of this. Everybody's climax is about there. But that's just the nature of the market. This is the measured move theory. This is the 1-2 punch. This is not a 3 drive. This is down, one pull back, almost completely symmetrical, and another down. Mission completed. This is more of the clunky Elliott wave extensions, Elliott wave extensions. But yeah, that's the market's on fire tonight. Look, the sellers just came in there. Look at them pull that back. Right at 9 o'clock. So we also have the top of the hour fate here. Another thing to consider. This is the hammer time. What time is it? It's fucking hammer time. So here's the deal. What's next? Well, this is supposed to become resistance, because support becomes resistance. The pivot, well, it remains to be seen. We could still come down here. So if you're not in the market yet, I would say this is your logical buy limit window. And here you're going to even buy more in the slot. And then once you get beyond here, you need enough money in the account to buy that. A lot of dry powder is what you're going to need. That's what I'm trying to say. I would never commit to the trend unless I had a breakout, unless I had a trend entry. But this presupposes I could ignore the fact that I'm adding to a bad position, which you're not supposed to do. So, but you have to. You have to be all in. You have to be in for a penny, in for a pound, because it's how fast you get in. If you let the market come to you, which I did last night because I knew we were going to go deeper, and I thought I want to get to 1,500 margin. I made it to 1,700 for a little bit, and then I got killed because I had 13 pip stops in some of these tickets, and I wasn't able to put. I had some 100 pip stops in here, but this market moves pretty hard. Plus, it costs a lot of money to trade it because it's $1.80. So it looks like worse than it is as far as margin goes, but I have a lot of tickets. They're all drops, all single drops. I also have other currencies in here floating along. I just put this crude oil tickets in. These scripts actually do run on crude oil, I found out. So it's interesting. I put some buy limits in here tonight on crude. Trying to pick up a retest of this window. This is the fourth time to the exit. So what else we got here? Let me see if I can get to this guy's. Boy, they make it. YouTube makes it so hard to read a comment now. There's like 3 layers of bullshit. I just don't understand why people make their software so fucking complicated. I guess it's to gather metrics on your movements because you're just making it a bitch to navigate the fucking thing now. You're just making me want to kill myself, okay? You want to be responsible for that. I guess everybody be like, oh yeah, don't you have suicide insurance? See if my targets are getting hit. Oh, look at this. I bet I'm making some money somewhere. I don't know. Not here. Wait. No, I'm up $44. Look at that. Look at these 8Ks are paying the rent, man. These maxed out at $80. I got 100 pip take profit on these puppies. Nothing's about to cash out. So I could ride this for the whole week now on the pound Australia. And actually, I put buy limits in again. So the reason why these $10 drops that I wrote really aren't designed for scalping because I consider 20 pips to be a scalp, and these start at 50, and it's kind of like a swing ticket, but not even that really, because if it was a swing ticket, it might be a 150 pip stop to make 400 pips. But you've got to ask yourself, would you be in a trade for 8 days to make 400 pips? I don't know if I would. I mean, I remember I used to do that because I thought I needed to let my profits run, so to speak. But then when I figured out that in 4 hours I could make the same amount of money, why would I torture myself with being right? Look, I'm still in this trade. Look at my patience. I just don't have any patience for this whole fucking thing. I mean, I can see what's going to happen. I'm like, can we just fucking get it over with? And even when the market's coming down like this, my attitude is, well, fucking stop me out already. One thing I hate, I'll be honest with you, that I hate beyond everything, is scaling into a dripping market. I would rather have them bend me over without lubricant and just come after my account. And the contest for me is, can I withstand the spike? Because as soon as it's done spiking, and this is when you know it's safe to lift your head out of that tank, out of the army tank. That's the thing, Okay, is it safe to come out? And this is when people do get killed sometimes because they, the enemy's like, stay quiet, right? The banks are like, we got one more retail trader we haven't taken out yet with the stop hunt. I just can't. This is the most ridiculous fantasy I've ever heard in my life, is that they be hunting stops. I can't trade. It's crazy. I don't even. I was trying to buy a Subway sandwich, and it's crazy. They stop hunted me. I called my agent. I called my trading agent, my prop house trading agent. Shit, I had to call No Nonsense Forex to bail me out. He vouched for me. Yeah, we both think, think what you will about the indicators. I suppose you could use an idiot light on your car to see if your car's overheating, but don't you kind of want to have it tell you it's kind of starting to overheat? I guess the idea of a high resolution thing, well, just the market's enough to tell you, right? Actually, your account balance should be enough to tell you that, wow, I think I just made so much fucking money I should get out. Another big crime is letting your profits run when they're psycho profits. Like when you didn't plan on making that much money that fast, you've got to ask yourself, this just ain't right. And that's when you have to get out of the trade. Like I still got these stupid buy stops lingering up. I should pluck these off. Another thing is that the less risky the trading, the more involved and difficult it is, because what you're doing is saying, I don't have a crystal ball of the optimal trade entry, so I'm going to go with a canvas method. I don't know where the true market is, and it's constantly changing, but I have an idea where it's been, and I think it'll return to the scene of the crime. It's time to put orders in at the last known bottom, and we will assume that it's going to become a double bottom. I think waiting for confirmation is the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it's literally like saying, well, I won't marry you and do all these things unless, I won't commit, right? If you have commitment issues, okay, that's a problem. So I had those issues. So I had to get rid of a lot of people, but this has made it very difficult to trade, because as soon as they said you have to be committed, I thought, well, what if the trade doesn't work out? The same thing with some psycho babe. What if it doesn't work out? And you've moved in with her, and now you turn around and you're like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, holy shit, this person's like going to be here for a while. Okay, it's fun at first, right? It's like a bad trade. It's like a trade gone wrong, and you're like, and then it's working out, right? The makeup sex, market's coming back. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm up on this fucking trade. And I would always get in 1 to 2 days early to every trade I was ever in, because I always bought into the plunge. And then I didn't have enough money. Well, I actually had money left over, because back then the brokers would float you. I remember the account flashing red with 500 in there, 800, 200, and wait for it to come back and end up with 1,500. And I just couldn't put on another trade because the broker was saying you're out of free margin. And that was the best trading, no stops. I didn't see the point. There wasn't enough money in the account to worry about it, so it was just so exciting. And so if you want to live like that, you just open a demo account. If you like trading, like you like playing guitar, it's not that you wouldn't practice guitar. You only play like live on stage for Sony Studios. Okay, excuse me, sorry. So I don't think there's many successful musicians that think that they're so good that they don't have to practice. They don't have to know what an amplifier is. That's their platform. You don't have to know how to click your mouse and put a trade on. So a lot of people that even talk about trading can't execute worth shit, right? Because it's such a, well, I don't just pull the gun and kill any random person. But you are killing random people. See, the problem why trading doesn't work for people psychologically, you have a gun and you're randomly killing people. You're randomly stopping out, retail goobers. Or you're faking people out. You're the fake out artist, because you are gobbling up these entries, and you're scalping them. And they look very, you can't, like if I compress the 4-hour chart, you can hardly see your trade. Because if you're in really big, it doesn't have to move very far. So this is like 1,000 pips right here. If you're only trying to make 100 pips, for God's sakes, man, just put 100 pips on your screen, right? We can see the box we're in. We don't need to know any more than this. In fact, this is the current drama. That's all you need to know. Here's the high of the week, the low of the week. Is it going to make a new low of the week and keep going down? Or is it going to come back to here and then meander, and then is it going to retest here? It might actually go lower. Are you flat now because you realize this was a bottom and you went flat actually 8 hours ago? And now you're just sitting on the sidelines. And maybe you got sell limits that start here. Logically, they're going to start here, and they're going to go all the way fucking up again. So the question here is, what if it keeps going up? Okay, well, if you haven't built a scalp into this scheme of this window, some kind of like, we get in here, we get out here. We get in here, we get out here. Some kind of array. And here's an exit, here's an exit. We're probably not going to do something like this, like the Hannah forex move. It's probably going to be some laborious bullshit. It could still come back and by jobs report. It's down here. Anything's possible. Another thing is anything's possible, which is not. It doesn't work against you. It works for you. And how does it work for? How does it work for you? Is because you have the ability to plan for both scenarios without feeling like you need to know what's going to happen. Because if either option happens, like if the Bulls are going to make money and the Bears are going to make money, then can you switch roles though? So can you simultaneously see the other guy's trade? A lot of people couldn't because they're like, they're trend traders, and I know what's going to happen here. We're going to continue, and I want to get in before the big continuation in the projection of the channel trend, whatever the price pulse, settlement, whatever have you. And then that moves over, and then you come in the next session. The market kind of meanders. People take positions. Zones are filled. People are satisfied. They leave the party. They go to another party. It's just like a walking beast. It's like Frankenstein, Frankenmarket. And it just leaves a trail of destruction. So how do you know if it's, it's going down and you're getting stopped out? How do you know when it's time to reverse position and go for a sell? With this methodology, you can always put buy limits under current price and sell limits above current price. I really enjoy your content. Oh, sorry to hear that. Keep posting videos for calling trades. Yeah. I'm in my bedroom calling out these trades. Like, if you're trading forex, you just really have to have your gear next to your bed. It's a 24-hour market, people. I'm just saying, like, that's why God invented a tablet, so you could sleep better. I don't know. If it wasn't for the market, I think I would have committed suicide. So, we're going to punch through here. We're all punch drunk about, I think it's so fucking bullish. It's on fire. Look at the daily. Are you kidding me? Here's another thing. At 6x, okay, here's 6x. This is the daily chart compared to the 4-hour chart. So see how what a mess this is. To clean it up, I would just zoom out and see, oh, god damn, that is difficult. What a fucking train wreck. Look at, now, just to give you an idea how hard it is to make money with moving averages. Look at this beast. What a month. I mean, I know what moving averages look like. I've seen enough to know if I threw them up here right now, I just want to punch somebody. Give me that fucking no-nonsense Forex guy. How's he trading this shit with indicators? And why would you bother when you can see every fucking auction in this chatterbox of choppy bullshit as it drifts down some so-called trend? God, the counter trend trades make more money faster. Look at this clusterfuck. Are you going to tell me you've got some indicator for this 4-hour pound Australia? You're wasting your time. You're better off just putting orders at the round numbers. 50 and 100. Okay, forget Forex nonsense guy. Here's a bottom become a top at the 50-yard line. This is the supply support zone. It's the supply zone. Dude, it's very simple. It's not this hard, people. Stop it with the moving averages. That's why I flipped out on those guys over in New Auckland, New Zealand. It's like, dude, really? He's an elitician. He studied here. He got a degree in eliticianness. Okay. But if we just sold at the 100 with a 50 pip stop, how much money did we make? Oh, well, sure, it's easy for you to say you sold it. Yeah, okay, but it's not easy for me to say because I don't fucking, like, I only traded this last night and I go, oh my God, look at this bitch. It's going to go psycho down and get scalped right into that. There was your 4-hour exit. You missed it. Now we're back at the pivot. You knew you had to get out here. if you bought that whole window and you got out. Now this view here, when you start to zoom in, you really can't care about what happened. I mean, you can look back here and you can fantasize, but to be honest with you, this is not going to help you trade the future. You can see the auctions, but it's just you got to find out that this auction that's happening now is such a micro auction. It's like this one. Does anybody remember this one? Now, if you trade this chronically, this currency, you probably remember this move. Now here's your dripping down. Well, this is a pretty fast, chunky. Look at this gorgeous channel out of middle of nowhere. It reminds me of a little pile of dirt. It looks like you ever seen like a thing in the ground that looks like the Grand Canyon out of nowhere? You're like, oh, look at that. Look at this behavior in 1 week. From trapping people up here, look at this nice, beautiful, smooth walk down. And then kaboomo. And look at this wick. 100 pip wick. Who's buying that at the doji? Who's scaling into that doji? And look at the windows all over again. We're all back to there. And then we have this impending abyss below. So there's abysses above and below. And now when you look at it like this, I can't really zoom in enough to capture. I'd have to go to the daily. So let's go to the daily. Let's zoom in and see the real terrain here. Now these are just the facts, man, but these are the pivots on close. We should be able to get a clue here. This bottom became a top. Roughly, I'm eliminating the wick because that's not the end of the day. You know how they say at the end of the day? This top became a bottom here at the end of the day. This is also the pivot that goes back here. It's very easy to see structure. Imagine this is the frame that's holding the drywall on. The drywall is the wicks. All right, this is the frame and this is the wallpaper, right? So we still have this void here. That's a tight slot. Now, here's where you have to buy more. So here's where it goes against your it's like jumping in front of a train. You're probably not going to be able to do it. Part of you is going to hold back, but you need to buy even more down here. So you need enough dry powder to buy even more than you ever bought in your life. This is why martingale works, but not in a... There's a reason why you're buying more here and then more here. And these are 50 pip windows. And you're just going to do it. And maybe it's just one account you risk, but you're going to make so much money. You know, you're going to make 1,200%. I mean, you're going to make a lot of money. If you focus on one currency pair on one account and you're dedicated and committed to trading this style of even on the daily, dare I say, you're selling new highs. So you sold here on a limit, you sold here on a limit, and people would say, "Are you crazy?" It's actually they'd say, "No, good job," because you are. Well, it depends who you talk to. It's going up and you're selling into it. Yeah, but you're accumulating. This sell limit never gets filled. So depending on who you talk to about the daily chart, and the Forex Hangout guy talks about the daily chart. Yes, you can make money from the daily chart, but you could never do it with indicators because you're denying the daily chart. You're in denial of it. You're not taking it for what it is. It's a structure issue. Trading has nothing to do with, well, I would say nothing, but momentum is true. In other words, it's dripping down now. It's quieted down. It's kind of like, okay, it's still kind of going down. And people are like, well, I'm buying into this. I'm getting killed. I should have fucking sold. I can't believe this fucking signal service I got. Well, they don't go. Do they give out trade plans? Just one, right? I mean, with one trade plan, how could you possibly do it? Think about it. You've got one trade plan. So you let me guess, you got a car company, you got one car design. Well, that's the argument for Henry Ford, but then he had different models, Model A, Model T. At least he had two different trades. But this to me is the structure of the market answers all. Okay. Look back, vacuums leave clues. It's not the structure, It's the lack of structure. And this beast, pound Australia. Look at the moves out here, man. It's insane. Insane, but we have to adapt to current stats. And lately, this whole month, other than the rally at the beginning of the month, it's just been quietly drifting down. And I don't know what that means. And I don't know if it means that the British are just starting to relax about their currency, or, who knows. But look at the pivots on this daily. Look at this one I just noticed. Is the top here is like right about the bottom here. Very defined area. We can also make the volatility trend line argument. Trend lines are about volatility because the volatility is evaporating. So that's why we have this. We're able to draw a trend line. As far as that same time period, we can't draw a trend line here. So we have this going down. You can make the argument that we broke out of this 4 period, breaks out, becomes resistance, it keeps tanking. So that's a trend line, and that's how you draw trend lines on close for me, because that's a trend. And now it's trending up into a downtrend, but it's not that for me. If you have the trend line argument, okay, that's it. But to me, it's about buying this, then cashing out to the floor. On the dailies, don't forget, we've already gone through that cycle in the 4 hour. So the 4 hours pressing up against this vacuum now. And there would be scalpers coming in to tomorrow. But if we make it up here, we know the seller's going to want to have a riot with it here. Is that when we get out of our longs? Have we been holding from down here and we're up? What? Another question is, not are you willing to lose $10 a ticket, but how much are you willing to make? And if you were up $250 risking $10, would you feel like, gosh, I don't know, I should probably get out of this trade? Honestly, in some of these markets, you probably want to move your take profit up, because these things can move 300 pips in 3 days. And you're like, wow, okay. But that rarely happens, because it's going to take quite a bit of pent up sideways dojis. Maybe, did you see the chart of the euro dollar with the, I think it's 4 dojis on the weekly before it plummets? That ought to tell you something. Every time you see a doji, it's a warning for the bulls and the bears to rethink their positions, because when the market's not going anywhere, everybody's nervous. Okay, so people are either going flat, and them going flat actually pulls on the market, because now there's nobody taking it and liquidity drops. And since nobody stepped in to bid it either way, that the first bid that comes in, whichever way that goes, kind of is the leading edge into whatever void exists. And if everybody looks at everybody else and says, this is the joke about the guy at the doorman starts to give you stock tips, you're at the top of the market, right? Because even if he knows, everybody's long. Okay, well, this is awkward. Everybody agrees with me. And that's why being contrarian usually pays more money, because presupposing that you're not a contrarian, like, how do you know this? When I first heard the concept, I thought, well, how do you know the headlines are the mainstream? Because even a stop clock gets it right, and these arguments, there's no tried and true method. In other words, the size of the vacuum also matters too, right? Is it a 1 hour or a 5 year vacuum? So we've seen markets run. You can look at the charts and see also where you're trapped. The last price was under a huge kind of area, vestibule where we were in, and now nobody was willing to buy and sell at that range, because it's unacceptable. It's truly unacceptable. And to be accepted back into people wanting to trade, the volume drops off. This is the volume argument, that if volume's there, then apparently volume with direction confirms that, yes, the big boys have stepped in, or let's just say the mob, really. There's not like some sophisticated big boys. It's more like a pile of goobers jumped in on it, right? Otherwise, why would it be bid up like that? Think about the Bitcoin rally. It looks like Bitcoin's going to make it to 6 here. Yeah, Bitcoin looks like it's hell bent, like making it to 6,000. But so here we are on this pound Australia, and it's quite a bit to manage, actually. If we would just take all this analysis off here, imagine that we started trading this at the beginning of the 2 months ago. So how could you trade this on limits? I'm also guessing that you could afford to risk quite a bit here. That this lonely wick would be our first place to start putting up high limits. I also have to admit that we did not make it back to this breakout point, so you have to get on something on the bull trap. So this is also, you can look up trap trading. It's the same thing. This is the bear trap. People selling the breakouts here, they get trapped here, and then the bulls get trapped there. So if you trade trap to trap, you're trading limit to limit. This is market maker. People call it market making, but it's just you're just taking advantage of a good price in either direction. You don't always get filled because if you have a sell limit here, they don't take it up there, right? So didn't work out. But and also, depending how you get in and out of these things, if you had a buy limit here based on this, and this one is underwater, but this one makes money eventually, and you've got enough money. Once again, the same scenario. You're going back like 20 bars. How many bars you can go back before you can't get a lower low, right? So this is the last low. You've got to have all your buy limits sitting here at the wicks. And if you want to be aggressive, every wick that shows, right? The one that doesn't show is the one that got filled, which is this one, right? This guy right here is the filled one. All right. It filled on buy limits because you were trend trading it. So if you're ever going to trend trade, as soon as, how do you know it's in an uptrend? Because it's going up on close only. Downtrend, uptrend, right? So it's going an uptrend, and you've got to put your buy limits in where the robots are protecting people's capital. So as soon as this goes up, you start to put buy limits here. You get filled here, ding, 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 you're filled. You could have also bought at the end of the day on close, added to it, and you're adding to, even though, well, I guess you could say, do not buy this because it's going down, right? I mean, on close. And here's where the conflict exists. If it's going down, it's in a downtrend. And it's the tactic of entry, right? So here's why it's confusing. If you say the law is if it's going up, I should run trailing buy limits until it's going down, and I should run trailing sell limits. So you would have got filled here on a sell limit, which did make money, presupposing you had a stop of here and you had a target here, right? So see the trap trade on the daily, we closed up here. They filled your sell limit. We went here, but we don't know if we went here first. But we went down further than we went up. Even though, for Ellioticians, this is still an uptrend because this did not pull back lower than here. And for some people, the confirmation, this has to close lower than here to be in a downtrend. It's just completely fucking ridiculous in my mind. You are literally trading against the best trade in the world is the reversal, the lowest risk trade. Because if I sell here and exit here, right? If I trade wick to wick, horizontal channels all day long, right? Buy to sell, to buy to sell. Well, how do you know where to get in? Well, you already know this is a top, so you should have a sell limit up here. You know this is a bottom, so you should have a buy limit down there. Well, how do you know it won't keep going down? You don't. That's the magic of trading. You don't. And if you knew that, you wouldn't put the sell limit up here because you'd be like, well, we're probably going to come down here. I want to buy this and I want to ride it to here. So a good trader should be able to trade both directions. So I can't really trade. I'm not good at selling, so I'm not great at being unbiased. I kind of stuck with stocks trading in my head. Like I like to see stuff go up too. I actually like to see stuff go up. Look at this thing come down and fill me finally on the limits. Look at that smash down. Do you see that trap? I just missed it. So I could have cashed out here, right? I was up about $800 right here. Look at that pullback. 50 pips, man. Right at the bottom of the hour. So on the half-hour chart, look at this fucking thing, right? Look at this beast. Gee, I wonder what caused that, Johnny. Well, see what it's like? It's like this, see? Not a lower. I'm sorry, not a lower low. Not a lower low. That's what Mildred said. Look at this, a 1 hour low. Yeah, this is trailing money management stops. Oh, guess we filled. Goobers be making money, but I be buying right here. And I'm going to buy right here. I'm going to buy right here. Look at that. Look at the scalpers getting out. Boom. That's not bad. Look at that. 1 pip. Guaranteed fill because that's a bid. One thing I'll say about the bid chart is you can see you got filled. Now, the spread could have been so wide that the ask was here and they stopped you out, but at least you know you got into that trade. And you probably could say that you got in here at the ask, and that's going to be your cash out. So if you did sell up here, the logical thing to do is get out here, and most people are buying here. All the bulls are going to buy that hole. I'm already in, and I think I got filled on a little bonus ticket. I don't know. I'm kind of just surviving the drama. Another thing is, are you going to hold this through Asia and survive this drama when you could be up thousands of dollars in this? But look at that thing trapped. Wow. So I have more buy limits sitting below me. And look at that thing. That's right. Perfect structured trade where, yep, sure enough, that's the current pivot. That's why it's ricocheted off that. Look at the 15-minute chart. Man, that's a hell of a fucking brutal moving currency, isn't it? Look how much damage. 5 minutes. Look at this 1 minute chart. 1 minute down hard. That's an easy buy for a scalper. You're already out. I mean, come on. Who doesn't buy this fucker? Boom. There's a market order. 1 minute chart. It's down that hard. You have a robot that just trades that shit all day. How many times you see a move like that? I didn't catch the spread. I wasn't watching. The spread could have been ridiculous. Or look at this bitch. Trap below here. So I got more buy limits stacking up. I'd like to get into $2,000, honestly. That's where I'd like to rack this thing up to. Stack them and rack them. So, yeah, it's going to be something else. So it's like, it's fun. It's fun. I have a hard time keeping track of these currencies, though. So I have no tickets in here. I had tickets in here. I don't know what happened. I could have cashed out of some of these. I wasn't paying attention. No oil tickets. I'm looking to get filled. I think I just picked up a couple oil contracts. I got to turn off this one click. It's driving me crazy. No, they didn't fill me. Boy, this thing looks like it's ready to step through the border. So did this stock market ever make it through the roof? It's pretty close. NASDAQ, right? That was what I call to be the most leading edge. The good old tech wreck is not over. I mean, the tech wreck is... oh, look at that. We go. And we didn't close there, so it's technically not... So we got a record poke through today. I think we could close in record territory. Let me see the reaction here on the 5-minute chart. See, I'll drill down to the 30-minute. Oof. Boy, we didn't spend much time up there, did we? That was wicked. I can't really capture that moment here. It's here's a 1 hour chart. Wow. So you spent about 2 seconds up there. Look how it came ripping back to the breakout point. So it came, well, actually the breakout point's way back here. So we have this breakout. So go to the weekly. Good Lord. Yeah, so we pegged that. Well, it broke out. Scalpers came in like crazy up there. Especially on the 30-minute chart there. Look at that 15. Then we got this quadruple bottom here. Now we're just kind of like did a little stop hunt into Asia. I think we could go after closing at record territory. A lot of people don't consider that to be an official move. So even the trend traders agree with the idea of who's in control, right? So trend to me is if it went up for an hour, it's an uptrend, okay? And I'm counter trend trading entry. Because anything else would be to say, well, the last 10 times it went down, the last 5 days it went down, and this is a dead cat bounce, it's going up. But once again, if you're going to enter on volatility based on the range of the day, or are you going to get in because the market's quiet? Are you getting in a 15-minute chart? Or are you going to get in the daily chart? Now, the daily chart, you could take the counter trend trade. Because granted, if it closes up slightly after it's gone down 4 days, it's obviously a downtrend. But on that one move that it's actually coming up, you're kind of counter entering. So it's so hard to explain because it depends how long you want to be in. And do you care whether you see that trade happen? So if your wife kept coming home from the hospital with babies every year, you'd say, gosh, are you sure these are your kids? I never see you actually have a baby, but you keep coming home with them, and I guess you look like you're kind of chubby on the way to that. I mean, it's kind of weird not to want to see your baby being born. Your great idea of trading the market, and then, yeah, I'm looking for an engulf pattern, and I've got the moving. Let me see my checklist. Could you, hey, Joe, get the checklist out. Like, I think these trades are going to be really important. I'm going to keep a journal. I mean, I make fun because I don't keep a journal, but I know people do, right? I actually bought a book that was called A Journal. And it was blank, and I felt really nervous about writing in it because it was like really nice paper, and it wasn't like I could edit it. So being a perfectionist, I couldn't write in it too much because I thought, man, I better fucking not misspell anything. I'm using a pen, and this thing's already been bound. It was a pre-bound book. I mean, I could not do it. I mean, now you give me like a piece of scrap paper, I feel more inclined to doodle an idea down. But if you're going to make me write a journal, I thought I was filling out like an essay question for the rest of my life. But that's just me. So for some people, they love it. I got it. I got the argument already in my head. I already know what pisses me off. Writing it down would just make it probably more obvious and maybe more embarrassing. Do I really need that? Do I need to know how pissed off I really am about everything? So the market it's a great place to get frustrated. But once I accepted that the market was out of its fucking mind and I was the only rational person here, then I could accept it, I said, okay, I see and every time Asia opens, it's kind of like this whole mood of, it's very quiet. What can we get you? Next thing you know, the Chinese laundromat turns into a fucking Saw movie, especially if they have a tsunami over there, all of a sudden Asia not so good. But for the most part, Asia's pretty obvious. And then we can see how things are arranging into London. And then what's possible in London is the end of the world for most intents purposes, especially what if they burn down another building. And of course, people will say things about these markets that have nothing to do with the fundamentals. Like if the markets go berserk, they'll say, well, can't you see? I mean, yeah, but put that together for me again. Well, it's because of is it? What's going to make gold go up and all these things. But I do think that the end of this, we're coming into the end of the quarter and all that stuff, and it is the time to assess how much money the government has in supply as opposed to what they've taken in revenue to balance their books. And don't forget at some point there may be an aha moment for every goober in the United States saying that, okay, our GDP is not keeping up with our debt and maybe we've overextended ourselves. But let's not forget the economy is on fire as we see crude oil go up and up into this void. we haven't seen in a long time. And we could get really back to 2008. Don't forget the real estate market hasn't even begun to go up again. And I hate to sound like Tom Vu, but I don't know if it's Tom Vu, but they ain't making no more land. So all these old arguments are going to come back. It's going to be so hysterical. It's like hystericals. It's like every time they think that fashion, people are like, oh, they're never going to wear that again. Oh, yeah, really, they're wearing it right now. Like, nobody's ever going to want a vinyl album again. Really? Now people want cassette tapes, Next, they're going to want fucking wire recorders, or they're going to want... I always had a craving for the 3.5-inch open reel tape machines from the Mission Impossibles, my favorites. Give me a couple of those, and I'll take a rack of metal tape. They should bring metal tape back. Actually, I want to get one of those high-8 camcorders and do some underwater photography without the proper equipment. But the markets is about as exciting as it gets, where making money from random outcomes takes a little getting used to. Because you somehow feel like you're cheating because you didn't pick an exact entry that, you're just not that good a trader. I think my win rate's only at 45% now since I started dropping these $10 drops. But I'm making, I'm not kind of spinning my wheels here in Asia, but if I was to put a better fit on these, because some of these currencies, you can't run a 13 pip stop. So you'd have to maybe go to a $20 a drop risk and give yourself more flexibility, but then you're taking on more risk. It's less work. How hard do you want to work? If you want to drop $50 drops, your decision needs to be a little bit more precise. And you can't make as many decisions unless you're going to put a bunch of money in the account, right? So it's a circle. You come back to how much money you got, how many bolts can you buy. Would you like to use a fucking, what is that, a shoulder launch missile, a Stinger missile, or you want to use a elephant gun, or do you want to use a BB gun? Do you want to use a taser? I guess that's stop entry, maybe taser. What do you prefer? And of course, do you want to make a flash burst of money, or do you want to have a nice conservative, well, what I did was I listened to the No Nonsense Forex guy. I've got about 80 hours under my belt of listening to what he says, and okay, I got rid of the dirty dozen, and I don't do no trend lines because it's so dangerous. And I stayed away from the hot spots, and I'm at home reading a book right now, but I'm making about 10% a month, and I'm pretty happy with myself that I didn't fall off the wagon and go totally berserk by thinking I knew where the market might be going and taking all the risky ideas about them hot spots. I mean, what a sad... somebody should sue him for fucking mental malpractice. Yeah, thanks for raising my self-esteem. So what you trying to say, Mr. No-Nonsense Forex guys? I'm like a total loser, and I should just kind of get out of that dirty dozen and get myself into a clean, 80 pips, 80 indicator clean style instead of a dirty dozen. I need a 75 clean. Yeah, we get about 75 screens, you say I need? How much? It's you need more electricity than a mine of Bitcoin for all the math that your indicators are doing on MT4. Hey, Mr. Minister No Nonsense Forex guy, turns out his angle is he's selling computers because people are frying their processors on his algorithms. At some point you've got to realize how to trade noise, right? How to make money from noise. But I don't want to see no noise. Can't you put an indicator? Can't you put some paint on the car? It just don't look good all metal like that. It's looking all metally. That was the DeLorean said, you know what? We're going to go with the metal. We're just going to brush it. No, we're going there. Ain't no paint on this car. DeLorean, DeLorean needed to do a little cash deal. Hey, when you need money for a project, Sure, that forex account's built out of a bunch of drug winnings, but other than that, it looks like the Nasdaq's gonna go through the floor here into Asia. They're gonna rape this thing. Oh, they trapped them bulls up there. They thought it was breaking out. So this whole trap game, there's a whole other way to make money from the trap. It's called trap trading. I mean, there's a guy that does like a 2-minute video every day of today's trap. I mean, it's obvious as fuck. Look, Bitcoin be slamming up to 6,000. I think we're going to go through the roof now. I've got the cloud turned. I'm only using the cloud for the... Okay, granted, you could have used this and said, yeah, I waited for the cloud and I bought here. But guess what? If you bought here because it was so fucking down on the week, and then you bought here because it was down, and you bought here because it was down, and then you stopped buying, you're up on 3 tickets, plus you could have cashed out here, right? And, okay, so I get it, but there's plenty of places to get on board this train. And don't forget, the robot was calling for a buy here, so how'd that work out for you? And that's why back testing, you don't have to back test anymore than look at this and see that, yes, you're going to get stopped out of this one particular idea, of this one particular moving average, on this one particular time frame. The daily's a completely different story, okay? Then people look at that and they go, what the fuck is that thing? They're like, yeah, I like this trade here. Yeah, see what you're saying. You get it at the cloud. No, this isn't bad. It's a daily cloud. I should give this to No Nonsense Forex guy for free. Here's a trend trade for you, goober. What you do here is you say this top become bottom here in the cloud. You buy there. Now, you don't really want to sell here, even though it was a good trade for a couple of days. And then you're like, yeah. And then I went long here, like he said. And then, holy shit, like this. Look at how it just went flying through there. I can't figures me out. Wow, did that vicious. What that was about. It actually was probably about this too. Don't forget, it goes all the way back to here. That's why it's such a violent move. This one too is violent, but this is, with the proper sizing, this is the exact same trade, right? Filling this void, well, the slot that starts here is the same pattern, different amount of Bitcoins. We got 7,800 on this chart, man. It's hilarious. What's 7,800? So I'm going to just take us down to the critical window here. So if I go zooming in, look at this thing. Holy shit. Wait, it just turned green again. Should I buy? Well, you could buy. I think right here is going to be a lot of people cashing out here at 6,300. And a ton of people cashing out right here at the doji. Probably a lot of people selling there. It looks like we're reaching into that zone. So this looks like we come in here as the stocks make record highs. S&P 500 is not making a new high, but the NASDAQ has. The leader of the pack. The ship of fools. But this thing could be easily going up to, if this is the new fair value at the top here. So this is unfair. We're at fair. And unfair is here again. Okay, Ether coins. What else we got? Let's go back to the... Look at the Nikkei's playing catch up. So is the... oh shit, wait. Here's pound CAD. So pound CAD, I think we got filled. I might have got stopped out here. See, now here was the window we missed. You need to be able to afford to buy this 50 pip window here, right? There's a triple bottom confirmation upon entry. We don't wait for a breakout of this bar. We don't wait for this to go up and come back and go up. No, we trade every entry because we're not going to wait for a confirmation. It's too retarded. We don't have time for that. We're not waiting for it to come up here so we can buy down here. We're gonna buy here because we've been here. We're gonna buy here because this is that, right? We're going to buy here, and we're going to buy here, and we're going to sell into this void, and we're going to sell into this, and we're going to sell into this. Because we bought into that, right? So we need to sell up here, cash out of our longs, or go short for the scalp back to here. It's a rinse and repeat operation. Boy, that's a brutal pair. Anything with this pound. The pound seems to be very expensive. Pound New Zealand's on fire. Here is the daily range of hellaciousness. So I talked about this trade last night, how you could have sold that. But if you did not cash out here and go the other way, somebody's talking about, well, isn't the exit and entry to go the other way? Yeah, but I think the size is going to matter because as this thing ranges back and forth, you're running tighter stops if you're buying and selling here, buy, sell. As soon as this heats up now, holy shit, right? Because if you did sell up here and maybe you cashed out here and the trade's over for you, until you come back here to buy, you don't ride it through fair value necessarily. But look at how dynamic the market is because all the trades that existed here have a completely different stop. As you're riding up here, then it's all bam, bam, and it goes to victim. Now you have an inside bar. Volatility is drying up. It doesn't mean you can't come down here, and you have to be prepared to put buy limits there and sell limits above. Obviously, that if we could take out yesterday's high, it's going to be ridiculous, right? Because you're cutting into the monthly. If you think that this is the bottom that just became a top, and this is going to keep cutting into here for the rest of the year, that's the monthly chart, or are we going to tumble down and start stopping out all the money management bots that are running trailing stops right now? If that happens, you're buying there on limits for some kind of move. The range trade's the only trade that makes money because you're buying low, selling high. Whether the final destination of that is, well, it's difficult to watch people that have moving averages because what they're extrapolating is something that they want it to come into their moving average in such a way that it fits a narrative that is kind of idealistic. Because I don't see anything like that in these markets. Sure, you can make the claim that we come back to trust here, you got to buy the trend line, but this thing is smashing down so hard. That's monthly chart. And look at this move here. Every month, higher and higher, higher. Who's cashing out into here? And why is this the pivot? Because when it cuts into this area, it never even makes it to here till way later on. Way later on. Did you wait through all this bullshit for that target? Wow. You waited a year to get out of that trade. Okay. But there's a reason why it reversed here. There's a structural reason. That's a monthly. I think I'm safe to put a line on this because I'm sure inside the daily there's a triple bottom in this. And once again, if you got to be able to see that this is unfair value on the monthly, right? You're sticking into like, oh, nobody else is willing to take it down. No, we got to take it up first. Buy stops are stacking up. The bears have money management. So if you're buying the stops off of them in the downtrend, here's another a winning trade. But once again, the volatility dries up. We're failing to make new lows. Something's up. What's up is we left behind this that needs to fill. Never makes it here, but it's satisfied. Then down again. Now, here's your trailing vacuum stacking up. Up. Here's the limit order entries, guys, for a continuation up. Now they're going to torture all the bulls and bear trend traders, but not the range traders. No, range traders faithfully make their money on buy limits, sell limits, buy limits, sell limits. See, the range traders on the daily make money. The trap traders on the daily make money. Oh, trapped you short, did we? Oh, trapped you long, did we? It made it back here at some point during the day. So as you watch them clean house on the dailies, They're going to stop this guy out. Your sell limits are here. Ding, 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 ding. Cash out. Then buy limits here. Coming back. We want to get filled in. Sell limits in here. Coming into this monthly. Sell limits on the rooftops. Buy limits on the basements. And you're making money in your range trading this. And this is not noisy. This looks perfectly sane. Sell limit, no fill, no fill, fill. Trailing sell limits in a downtrend. Buy limit, fill, dead cat bounce, buy limit, fill, counter trend trade. So, and you got to have more than one ticket. So, here, I guess you kind of a little slippage, I guess. I don't know if that's bad data. Missing like a whole month there. So this data is a little iffy here. Too thin of a market, maybe. Anyways, that's the, look at the wick on this beast. Pound Australia. How about that? Man, look at that wick. That 5-minute smash down. Are you kidding me? Look at that. In 1 minute. That was as good as it got, see? That was as good as it got, man. And then it drifted up. And the only way this 1 minute chart even looks structurally sound is because of the velocity. That sell-off gave you this nice crawl back up. Stairway back to the floor. Here was the floor. And everybody cashed out here. Well, anybody that's anybody. Everybody that's anybody. We're just in a very narrow range. But if we go to the zoom out key, 1 minute chart, man, what a brutal. Now, if you were just there to pull the trigger on that, that's a lot of fun, but you can't always be awake for every moment of this market. Here's top of the outcome. So I'm going to wrap it up with the 1 hour chart. I'm looking for this thing to, I'm going to go to the 4 hour chart. So I'm looking for this to keep going up tonight. I'm just going to hang in there. I'm just going to hang in there like a real trooper. Give me that good. And I think I might have picked up just a few more tickets, but I might have got stopped out of a few more. So I'm going to set it and forget, let that thing creep out. In fact, my exits are so close that I really should move them up, but I'm just going to let it be a scalp. For this market, it's a scalp, that's for sure. So yeah, the market depends. How long do you want to be in? And I'm only trying to perceive one price pulse. I really do think that the high probability trade is the first exit. The second would be, okay, well, you're going to think about adding, right? So if you think that when we get to here, we might, it's people, it's going to pull back a little bit, but can we actually get down here again and buy more? I don't know. This is where it's the, you got to figure out how much time we're going to spend here. Is the price slipping away? Do we need to get in before we have to be forced to chase it in a confirmation mode when you hear people talking about, yeah, it looks like it's going up, I'm going to buy. You're like, oh boy, here comes the gooberettes. They know about it now. Oh, that's why I fade the Wayne's World people. They're like, yeah, just no confirmation here. It's just like, I'm like, oh God, let's just trade this thing. For God's sakes, people. It's like we used to have people come over for auditions, me and this drummer, and they come over and they tune their guitar up if they could, and they'd say, what song do you want to play? And we'd go, we don't play songs, we just play. And the guy would start playing a cover song, and we'd go, oof. I go, I don't know the song, I don't want to butcher it, to be honest with you, so can we just play it's like a guy showing up at a party and saying, okay, these are the topics I bought. These are the topics I brought with me. I'd like to discuss. I've got this. I got this issue. I got that. What do you think of that? No, it's a party. Let's just relax and then just randomly tell stories. But I think the trading approach is like this formal event for people. I guess the thing that makes it casual is if you can't execute from your phone or another device or another room, it takes on a different mode because I think that people do have a trade desk and they come to it and that's their office and I got this and I got that. But I don't look at it like that because it's just too. I've tried to do that and I feel like, God, this is retarded. The market's not doing shit. Why am I sitting in an uncomfortable chair? And so I just lay in bed and trade, because I don't want to. I already know what I want to do, so I'm just going to click on it. I could come to the chart and analyze it and think about trade plans, but when it comes down to it, um, I'm going to plan the next 4 hours out, next 8 hours from my bed because I can roll over and see the markets moving and I can launch an 8-hour script. But here at the desk, boy, I don't want to be having to move this fucking mouse around in this goddamn monitor. I don't know why. I just feel like I'm at a job or something. I feel like one of those people calling to see, hey, would you like to buy one of our special prizes? I guess it depends. And that's what they would say about Bill Williams says, don't ever be hunched over at your computer cutting off your oxygen. I'm like, well, that's my edge, is almost killing myself. Or being hunched over in front of the computer is typically what happens, Whereas you're laying in bed and you're clicking on the market and it's just like reading a book. I like to read the market. I'm like, oh, looks like we're doing this. Okay. These fuckers really. And, if you've got enough demonstration accounts to masturbate with, you're not going to lose money because I need to test things out. I need to be saying, well, you know what, I have never traded this pound Australia, and maybe it's not that bad with a dedicated pip range script because the stuff that I would run in the euro dollar would get destroyed in this currency pair, right? It's just too much. And it's a whole other relationship I don't want to get into. I'm never able to cheat on my wives because I felt like, no, this is enough drama right here. I don't have time I could barely manage this insane drama of this psycho babe. So, yeah, I'm just going to have to go one at a time, one drama at a time. And I guess it's, living with the euro dollar, it's kind of predictable. Especially, it's cheap. In other words, you can predict it and it's not going to cost you a lot to find out if you're right or wrong. As they say, how much does it cost to find out if you're right or wrong? And right or wrong being winning and losing. Because you can be right and get stopped out because you ran too tight to stop. You're right about the direction, but your money management was a little too safe. That's the argument for being a samurai trader and just taking your account and saying, you know what, fuck the stops. I got $400 in there. I'm just going to take really good trades. And I'm just going to say, you know what, I could blow this account up. Once you accept all your losses up front, then you can fight. I don't think boxers go fighting thinking, man, I could really get hurt out there. I don't know if I should do this. No, I think they think, I trained for this and, yeah, they can knock me out, but that's just, that's what, maybe they're looking at the paycheck. I don't think people would fight unless the paycheck was big, but there's some people that fight literally just to, this is the ego factor. Are you a prize fighter for the money, or do you like to have the title? Same thing in trading, because you could be, in some weird weight class, you might be really good, and you might make money being a boxing coach. So there's people that are trading coaches, but hopefully they've traded at some point. And if you sell yourself as a trading coach and you don't show any trades, that's probably better because you can just be like, Well, how much you risking today? And be like that sobriety cop. Oh, you crashed your car, did you? Nice job. So you blew up your account. Okay, well, that's great. Keep going, if I was a trading coach, I'd be like, the people tell me, gosh, I blew up the account like 5 times. So I'm like, well, how much you got in that account? Oh, I got $500 in there. Okay, well, does it bother you? Or do you find that to be a kick? I mean, like, how much are you spending on hookers and not getting married? Like, you can say the same thing about hookers, right? You're not going to marry her, and you're kind of like not investing too well, especially if she works for the service. And I don't mean the government. I mean, if she's part of the, staff, then it's like you're just a number. Or maybe you are a preferred client, right? Like Trump or something. But, you got the market's the same way. It's a relationship where if you don't feel, okay, so if you're with a hooker, let's say, and you don't feel like you're going to break her heart because you're paying, it's like being in a trade in a way, because since the market doesn't know you exist, I hate to make the analogy, but it's a good fit for me, is if you don't have the emotional attachment to the trade, like you don't have the hooker, then maybe sex is easier. So maybe your trades go better because you don't feel like, you're like, oh yeah, this is how it is. Whereas if you have this, you fell in love with some indicator and you're like, oh no, get away from my algorithm, buddy. I got this one. I got this figured out. I know MACD, this is a good entry right here. Everything's in my favor. And we all see on the chart where maybe that sometimes the market pace, that the structure is above momentum as far as the what's driving the move or the next move. So in the situation where you're trying to confirm that she doesn't have any diseases because you're going to marry her, whereas if she's a hired gun, then she brought her appropriate rubber dams and stuff like that, so she's good to go. Which in our case would be the stops. Let's say the whole account is a stop. So blowing up an account is not a big deal if it's $200 in the account. If it's $2 million, maybe it's a problem. And for some people, they could give a fuck about $2 million because they have ass cancer, and that's a bigger deal. But unfortunately, trading is a direct connection to a bank of your own making, of winning and losing. And you're being updated real time, moment by moment, on how you're doing. If you're underwater in the trade, you probably can hardly help but notice that and say, well, currently I'm at a loss. I'm I'm a long range trader. I know I've got 16 hours ahead of me. At the moment, they're crushing me. Should I add to the loser? Now, this would be based upon, have you misread the structure? Is there a better price to come? And can you stare at the market 24 hours a day for 24 days? Do you have a staff that you hired? Are you going to check in every 4 hours or 6 hours or every day? Are you going to see how it's going? Are you going to say, oh yeah, well, to me, when I see that I'm going underwater, I can already feel the winning coming. In other words, I'm kind of forward feeling that I know the feeling of being underwater means that I'm probably going to about to get that back and more if I scale in at shelves on the basement and I come in at the appropriate nonlinear basement. In other words, we're not talking about getting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10 floors deep. It may be 3 floors, it could be Fibonacci 3, 5, 8, 13 floors down. But when we get to the 13th floor, we need to be buying twice as much as we bought the 8th floor. And you still, but this is the only way to do it, right? Because this is where all the money is in high velocity sell-offs and spikes. But how long do those tickets last? So if they last all week long, you want to have them, say, 300 pips deep, because it's really going to make sense down there. It has nothing to do with the moving average that's taking you to that price level, because that price level is written in stone outside of your smoothing process, which is a fucking moving average. There is no moving average on this chart, just current price, which is a moving average in a zigzag pattern. But the auction is the king of low risk trading, because when they say going, going, gone, they mean it. That's why the fear of missing out is a real thing, and the cure is to be an auction trader, because you'll never fear you're missing out because you got rock bottom prices. And fear of missing out kind of is about trading at the market, but not really, because if you're afraid of missing out, well, you could scale in at the market lightly, but your limits are going to be right in the key area. And then you would make the transition to trading only on limits. Because if you put an order in 3 pips deep, the fear of missing out goes away very quickly, because in this market, we could drop 3 pips in 1 minute. Look at this 1 hour chart. You can't even tell that this whole drama is a 1 minute move back here. Right, so look at that thing. Anyways, I'm going to go back to my movie watching. I'm just going to let that go. I really should move my targets up, because I think we're going to go about 200 pips up. So I hope that helps. That's my answer to what do you do when it's going down? When do you cave and go and join the sell crowd? And I say never. I take the Churchill stance. Never give up. Fuck them. And now, like I said, you'd still have to, if you do, okay, forget that. If you put stops in and tighten them up when the market gets to a low volatility and it's still going down, then they stop you out, you're flat, but you got more buy limits below, because if you do go into sell mode, you're trend trading it in a continuation. And if your stop is so wide that, this is the weekly chart, by the way, if your stop's so wide that you're really planning on it dropping 300 pips, you're actually, I know it's hard to believe if you're used to putting a 30 pip stop, but this is why changing currency pairs and stuff can be disorientating. That's $30 underwater on a 1K. That might be too much for some people, because 10 of those is almost $300. I mean, it gets really out of hand really fast, you know. So, looks like Euro's going to crush the CAD here. We're crawling out of the hole. So this looks like a easy, Euro's coming back to life. New Zealand yen, looks like New Zealand's going through the floor. Yen's going through the ceiling. What else I got here? Euro's treading water. So, if you sold up here, hopefully you're out. And we're drifting sideways. I'd start putting buy stops in here and buy limits all the way down to here for tomorrow. So I'm slightly long this thing. This is my cash out. Anything above here. And now I'd be buying heavily below here and very, very heavy, well, for the rest of the week down here on Euro. And going to the 1 hour chart, yeah, we could still poke into here. So most of my limits are sitting in here for London Open. That's my trade on the Euro. I don't think I'm going to sell above here. Unless it's going to be scalpings up there. And once we breach this thing, I will start chasing with buy limits. If we can make it above here in this window, instead of plunging into these buy limits, I will cash out of my winners up into this catch. It's a 1 hour chart. There's a trap up there. A lot of sellers. Cash out and then start playing it for the long side of limits. So at this point, I can become very creative in how I layer them in, and I'll do it on my tablet because I've got hard written scripts that drop various time expressions and like a kooky interlaced array. And that's an easy trade. Also, I have market orders on there that I can pull at the market if need be, because there's no getting around the fact that you had to buy here for the retest and you had to buy because it was down at the market. If you want to make money after it goes up, you're assuming it's going to go up after it goes down. That's why you're buying at that discount in time after 1 hour. The 4 hour chart is building a campaign for a northern move. The daily chart is totally bullish in my opinion. Based on trendline analysis on close, this was the first buy. Pull back to here, kind of going up in this current channel, however long it lasts. We're either going to accelerate out of it to the upside or downside, because a lot of these things don't maintain a pace like this without some type of insanity, and it's going to start right here. Anything above this, we know, will be an insane bum rush to this level, and here there's plenty of chances to add on pullbacks on limits here with trailing buy limits. So if you stretch out the market into this insane depth of market, yes, depth of market works with your own tickets. This is how deep it is. This is a daily euro dollar. Top, bottom, and close. It doesn't mean we didn't stop hunt that last wick as we crawl out of the abyss. And anybody that had the balls to buy this area is up on every ticket. And you bought more here, and then you really martingaled in here. You bought the ranch here, and here. You bought the ranch here, and you bought your neighbor's ranch down here, but you didn't get filled. I don't think you got filled down there. Maybe. Just maybe by a nick. And then here you were prepared to get another loan, see? And that would have been an amazing entry. Never happened, though. So here's the weekly. And this thing looks just hell-bent on going up. But I'm bullish all the time, so what am I going to say? Anyways, that's it. Good luck. Good luck enduring the psychological torture of being underwater.